Meeting to order. You pick people in pictures.
I see we
Hi,
have.
Trish.
We just entered the waiting room, so let me just
Hi, Jason.
them in.
Evening, everybody.
Hey.
So who entered?
Purnima and Chris Carlson, Shelley. There we go. I think we have a full
Oh,
house.
and there's Purnima.
Hey,
Okay.
And Jenna's online.
Jenna
Oh,
Garvey's online.
Yep, yep, yep.
Hi, Jenna.
Hi.
Who's in the middle? The picture there, not the person.
Karen Coates.
Oh, that's the Hubbardston Center School principal, Erin.
Oh,
Hi,
Okay.
everyone. I'm right here.
okay. Are you all here?
Got a swimming.
Yep.
All right, so we'll get started. First thing is that comment about if you tell a dirty joke, other people may hear it or something.
This meeting will be recorded and will be posted to YouTube and other social media platforms. By participating in this meeting, you understand that the recording could contain your video stream or your audio stream, including images of yourself or anyone in the room with you. If you choose to enable your video or audio device during the meeting, as well as anything or anyone else that may be in the background could be recorded. The recording could include any opinions you contribute and anything you say about yourself. On occasion, chat within the meeting could also be captured in the meeting recording. Therefore, anyone attending the recorded meeting may have aspects of their personal data recorded if they actively participate or not.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
We have a motion on the minutes from last time.
So, second.
Okay, all in favor? Abstention.
I think we have to hear from Jenna, so we probably have to do a roll call.
Okay,
I'm in favor.
okay, so does that take care of it?
Sure. I
All in
think we're
favor of
good.
one abstention?
Yeah. I think we can get away with
I
that.
think many of you know, or may have noticed, I was not at the last one. I came down with COVID. And I was sort of phased out that night. I'm sitting at the table and I get this call from my good friend Lee. And he was much politer than saying, "Where the hell are you?" But that was kind of
But not that.
that was sort of the sentiment. And I made an appropriate expletive comment as I recall. But anyway, thank you for carrying on and so forth.
Okay,
All right, now,
you do? Oh, two more.
we are in a bit of an interesting situation this evening in that we didn't have, there's a whole bunch of policies. And we didn't have them to look at. So I talked with Colleen and she's gonna just give us a 1 or 2 sentence précis on each one. And if we think it needs to be held over, we'll do that. But if we can just run it through, then we'll do that also. So those are our options. So there's a number of new ones. They're from CCSC. No, MASC, that's it.
MASC, yep. So-
And
Go ahead.
many of them relate to our new policies under the new technology and AI and all that sort of stuff. So, Colleen, if you would be so kind as to,
I sure will. So, if the policy is completely, oh, they're not color coded for you. So as I go through them, I'll let you know if the policy is completely new or if it's been amended. So let's look at the first one in your packet, which is the district security relating to technology. This is a brand new policy from MASC that backs up other policies that we have in place. And basically what this says is that the school committee recognizes that all of our data and our information is resources that we have to protect from unauthorized use or access. And so we have to have this balance of keeping our information secure, but yet allowing people to access that information when it is sort of necessary and needed. So this just says that the superintendent, you're going to direct me to maintain an effective district data protection system of procedures, which we have. And part of, probably the most important part of this is anytime we work with a new platform or a new version of software, our technology director vets that very, very carefully in the contracts that we agree to sign so that we know they're not sharing student data, they're not selling information, all of those different things. It also comes into play when we have records requests, which we've been getting a lot of, and that's actually where this policy comes from. So people can call and say, you know, I need such and such data, but Andrew looks that over carefully and he says, we redact the names, we don't share this, we, you know what I mean, according to our legal obligations. So this is a brand new policy from MASC.
Any questions on this one?
Yeah, so to me, anytime we have something or anybody has something that says the committee directs the superintendent, blah, 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 blah. I'm wondering if, I don't know, I'm not saying we have to write it in, but maybe like once a year, at some point during the school year, you should give us a breakdown or nothing, you know, extensive of, okay, here's how, you know, based on this policy, here's what we're doing just in the district. I'm not saying it, you know, I'm not saying it has to be at a certain time, et cetera, but I think, you know, from a legal point of view, we as an entity direct you to do something on behalf of the district, it probably is good that at some point you let us know what you're doing.
You want this for the February meeting, or would you?
I'm not
just
saying
be happy
any
to wait until
specific
next
meeting,
year?
whatever the, you know, to me, whatever the superintendent would be comfortable with, but I just think that there should be some sort of,
Update.
yeah.
Could I
here's
make
what we're
a
doing.
suggestion? I was actually surprised to see that it said the superintendent because there's another one that says the superintendent in conjunction with the technology director, which maybe they did superintendent because some school districts don't have a tech director. But I really appreciate that suggestion, Lee. And what I would recommend is that part of our technology committee has on their agenda on a yearly basis or biannually, however we want to do it, an update to any procedures that we have in place or have changed. So I can talk to Dave Marsh and Andrew on that and get that on those subcommittee
Yeah, I
meetings.
mean, it
Does that
doesn't-
make sense?
Specifically don't have to, you could even come in and say, okay, based on this, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I'm gonna have Andrew come in and give us
Yep.
a briefing, et cetera. You don't, you know, to me, you don't have to be the one, but, you know, you have to engineer how it's gonna be.
Do you,
presented to
do you
us.
want that in there, or are you happy with just this understanding?
Oh, I'm happy with the understanding, but
Okay, good.
No, I think if technology's following along with it, they should be anyway, right? Whether we had a policy or not, this is important that it should be discussed, I'm sure, at their meetings.
Okay,
So I'm going to put right in the notes that Andrew and the chair of the technology committee will provide an annual update on this policy at a subcommittee meeting, and then it'll be shared with the committee. Does that make sense?
okay. Those in favor of putting it on the table? Okay. all-
And Jenna?
Jenna,
Aye.
Jenna? Okay, there we go. Data and records retention.
So, this is just that, it states that we have to have a public records officer, which, is me. It is posted on the website. And there are different requirements for how long we hang on to, our records, different things like that. And basically, it is stressing that electronic messages between public officials, yourselves included, may be considered public requests. And so all of our employees and the school committee need to be given district email addresses so that you conduct all your district business using those addresses. So they're considered public records. So this is just, we do this, we have this practice in place, but this is just really naming it. And this is something that keeps coming up. And you'll see some other policies that I'll go through that are in line with this. So it's really saying to adhere by using your school committee and for us, our district email addresses for all of our district business and not to mix in the personal because they could become public records. So it's really important and it's becoming more prevalent, if you will. But it's important we tighten up that.
Any comments or questions on this one? Okay, motion to put on the table.
Second,
I'll move. Second.
Okay,
I'll go first.
Read this.
all right, those in favor?
Aye.
And Jenna.
All right. Yeah, the committee and Jenna. All right, we got that one done.
Okay,
Personnel.
Yep.
Use of technology.
so this goes hand in hand with the last policy. And so this is about using all of our digital resources in ethical, legal manners. And it's really a lot for our staff so that, again, we're separating sort of the work that we do with the personal communication. So it says here that occasional personal communication is permitted as long as it doesn't interfere with the duties, the performance, the systems operations of our network and things like that. And that everyone has to comply with these policies and procedures. They sign a digital use form prior to be granted access to our digital resources, which we do. They all have school-issued accounts for communication with our students, our staff, so on and so forth. Something that is sort of interesting is all online activities that would not be considered appropriate in the classroom should not be conducted online, even if you're using your computer at home, right? If you wouldn't do that in the classroom, you're not doing it at home. And then there's a new section. We have something similar to this, but there's a new section around team, class, and student organizations. And that they're created only in conjunction with a coach or a faculty advisor. And when there's communication throughout that group, it is done on group chats, group messages, and group texts. That one-to-one communication is frowned upon. You always include two people on that. So let's say I was a coach and I needed to email Peggy something about frequently forgetting her basketball shoes. I would include Mr. Myville on my email to Peggy. So there's three in the loop. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
CC and
But that's not what this
Is
says.
that what we currently do?
We don't have this in a policy so down the bottom, Dr. Allen, it says when interacting with students online, group interactions are encouraged and should include two staff members. One-to-one interaction should be avoided.
But the one above, it said all contact and messages by coaches and faculty advisors with team members shall be sent to all team members. Okay, so our mythical basketball coach has a problem with our mythical guard. You always are going to your right hand. You need to learn to go to the left hand as well as the right hand. Why would any other team member or all the other team members need to have that message? That sounds stupid.
This is really digital communication.
well, A, but B, I mean, if I'm the coach, I'm bringing that kid in to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, you're not putting it
That
out.
really isn't an
I mean,
appropriate.
I think this covers certain things, but I think, using.
But like the basketball shoes, I would have sent out a general thing. Hey, listen, don't any of you guys forget your shoes, otherwise blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, particularly you, Peggy.
Right?
Yeah,
So the way I understand it, Dr. Allen, is that if you were going to communicate, you would probably communicate that kind of message in a
Sure.
digital form. You take just what Lisa, you take the kid aside, use your left hand to whatever. But if it's if it's something you would communicate digitally, so the coach would also CC Mark Myville, so there wouldn't be any question about
Backup, right?
what was said to send.
And it gives an example in that paragraph around medical or academic. So if I were a coach and I was worried about someone's eligibility and I wanted to send them a message, I might send them a message, but I'd also copy one of the building administrators on that message for academics, if that's the case, or perhaps a school nurse, if it were medical.
Yeah, but it says anything with team members shall be sent to all team members.
Except for.
Yeah, well, right, I understand that, but. Okay, everybody's happy with this one, good deal. Any other comments? We have a motion?
Sure.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all in favor?
And Jen.
And Jenna. All right, on to the student use of technology in schools. Oh, isn't this an interesting one?
So this cross-references some other policies that we have in place, access to digital resources, acceptable use of digital resources. And so this just says that the students must sign an appropriate digital use form, which we have. We do that. It's one of the very first things that happens in school, and that they must use their digital resources in a responsible manner. And so it really states that that they have to abide by our code of conduct as we have it in school for disciplinary measure, that if they're saying something, basically, if they're saying something online using our technology, and honestly, there are laws that sort of even precede this a little bit, but that they will be held accountable.
Now, it says use both on and offline. Online, I know. What's offline? I mean,
So they might be creating documents or something that aren't shared in the moment, or.
Or, I mean, I would also say it that offline could be one, like it's not saved to their Google Drive. It could be something that's saved down to their own. I don't even think Chromebooks have memories, but if they had a bigger laptop that was a school resource that could be shared or
Well,
saved
yeah, it
to
could
the
be
laptop,
to
that would
the
be
Google
considered.
Docs, yeah.
Yeah, that would be considered saving it offline if it's saved to the device. And then
Right.
online would be if it was saved to the Google Drive. So it just covers any use of their digital resources.
okay.
So basically, they don't have privacy, right? It says that,
Any other comments? Motion,
Don't move.
second, okay. All in favor? And Jenna.
I have a question.
Sure.
Now, I thought I read somewhere where no elementary kids to have phones in the school.
So our elementary students don't have phones. Our elementary principals are all here. You are welcome to.
No, I'm just curious,
Yeah.
you know, because I know that they have them on the bus. I
Well,
didn't know if they should.
I
And, you
think
know, I mean-
basically, they keep them in their backpacks, and, you know, we discourage students from bringing them in.
Mhm.
What I will tell you is some parents want their children to have a phone on them in case of emergency, so on and so forth. And so we say, Trisha's going to chime in, but we say they stay in your backpacks.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Trish.
I would say that's what we do, Colleen. They stay in their backpacks, and if they're out caught using them, then it comes to the office. I mean, it's in our school handbook, and the parents have to come pick them up. It's surprising to me how elementary kids can still sneak texting their parents, like if they forgot their instrument, and I'm like, oh, how'd you know they forgot their instrument? Oh, they texted me. I'm like, oh, they did they? So, but that is our policy at OCAM.
Okay. Any comments or questions on this one? Dynamic duo motion and second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
We're gonna put AJ on here. Face coverings.
Did we do KDC? The community
No,
use
I think
digital
that's-
Oh,
resources?
no, okay.
Okay. So this is the one that says the superintendent in conjunction with the director of technology, but the other one doesn't for some reason.
We added
Um,
the other one?
We probably could. We
Yes,
could.
we
As
can.
we see
Would you like
fit.
to do that?
I think I would.
That's
Sure.
your motion. Do we have a second?
Give her a second.
Thanks,
Okay.
Lee.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
And an AJ?
Cover your covers as well.
Yes, no, it makes.
No,
a
it
lot
makes
of sense.
sense.
Yeah, no.
Yep.
I
It
just have
doesn't
to
put it all on
one
you.
of
You're not
those.
the technology director. You don't know.
You don't know much.
All the ins and outs of the technology
It's,
world.
It's all good.
Community use of digital resource, KDC.
So this is when we may have a community member come in or, say we have someone here for professional development or outside folks that are using any of our systems. It just basically says that we will determine if they're allowed to access our internet, different things like that. So for a perfect example is our CAPS programs that are in our building. So they adhere by all of our same policies when they're using the internets. But sometimes we'll have, maybe the town wants to run an event and they want to use one of our schools. And so we just had this, as a matter of fact, now that I'm thinking about it, when we did voting days. So the town of Hardwick wanted to do some different things. And so they wanted a camera. And so Andrew had to work with them to set up so that they could access our network for that day. And then, he ensured that it was shut off and that was the only day they could access it, just different things like that. So this just puts it in writing, that they have to they have to sign and accept our digital use form before we allow them access to the network.
Do we have some sort of a thing that they have to fill out or?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Excuse me. All right, any other questions? All right, so we have the motion and the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, AJ. Face coverings, I assume we're gonna rescind this.
You are correct, Dr. Allen.
All we need to read is the top line.
That's right. Any comments or questions? Motion, second? Okay. All in favor of this?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Use of electronic messaging by school committee members. Ooh.
This,
So this is one that we have currently on file, and there's a recommendation for an update. So you'll see in the very last paragraph that they're striking probably 3 sentences, and they're kind of summarizing it. So previously, it said that we would annually designate a member of central office staff who would be copied on all electronic correspondence between and among school committee members. And so Andrew always had the capability of doing that. But basically, what this says instead is that the district will provide district email addresses and they will be archived, which is really what we do.
Comment or questions? Okay, dynamic duo, yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Food and nutritional service universal free school meal. Great.
So EFC is really a completely revised policy, being that Massachusetts is universal free school meals. So the language in here has been updated to reflect that. So some of the things that have been taken away are the pieces around the standards for lunch and breakfast have to comply with the USDA. That's a given that it's universal. That's already part of the program. That's sort of a guarantee. The free and reduced price meals basically said that we would determine that annually, which we don't need to do right now because it's free and reduced. Income verification in order to qualify. We used to have to have parents fill these things out and make that determination. What it says instead is that it remains important that families complete the annual household application for free and reduced meals because it allows us to provide other additional benefits like some EBT things we've done during the pandemic or possible waivers. Sometimes school districts will reduce a sports fee or something for students that might qualify. And that meal pricing would be reviewed and set by the school committee. Now, what Jess and I talked about this is that we would recommend that we do put this on the table and that we accept this with the understanding that if we're not universal free meals next year, very quickly, we will revert to the former policy because we will have to take all those steps of setting prices and doing those things.
Has there been any verbiage on that?
There has not. There has not.
Yeah, when I first saw this, I thought it was those free, the state giving us free meal, but it's not. It's just for those kids that low income, that kind of thing.
Right now, we have universal free for all.
Yeah.
So all of our
That's what
kids.
I was recalling.
Yeah, so that's what the revised version reflects. What's crossed out is our older procedure where we qualified certain students and families.
Well, they don't have universal free lunch next year. You're gonna have to.
We'll have to go back to the former version.
Yep.
Yeah,
Can we put that language like
Yeah.
in there? It
Yes.
would revert back.
well, we'd still have to bring it.
I
We
think we
still have
vote
to.
it.
Yeah,
Vote it over.
You'd, I'm just worried about timing if we're not having meetings and we
Yeah.
find out in the summer or something like
Is there
that.
any reason we can't put in here as long as the state maintains the free lunch or free food
I
for
just
all?
want you to be able to conduct business as you need to without being held up
well,
to change.
I mean, honestly, I think as
To
soon
revert.
as it were to be, we would know by June if this was going to happen or not. They would not expect a school to
Probably
turn
sooner,
around
right.
and change it. So I think we'd be okay. We might have to call a policy subcommittee over the summer, but it could be
Okay.
short and
As
fast.
long as you're fine.
Alan.
So we can take care of that now by doing,
That's.
I don't think we
trying to do.
yes.
I don't think we can.
I don't think you can set a policy that flip flops based on
Yeah.
some unknown.
Version A and B.
Some unknown action being taken where we're not taking an action. I mean, the policy is to take an action. I don't think we have any policy that I know of that would say it's either A or B. We're not going to decide, we're going to put in whether it's A or B, and we're not going to touch this ever again. So if B occurs, it becomes B. Next year, if A occurs, it becomes A. I don't think you can do that as a policy. I think the policy is we're doing A. And if B comes up, then we have to go and revise the policy and vote to do B.
That makes
I
sense.
mean,
Yeah, it does make sense.
Makes sense.
you have to do it every.
Sure you can. May not be right. You may be correct, but, okay, so the policy, any other comments or questions? Okay,
Yeah, we're doing it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So I think that's it for the policies, right?
That is, yes.
Did we miss anything, Peggy?
No, I just didn't mark off the AJA.
Okay. So we're now program of studies. You have anything interesting for us, Pranima?
Always. Always
Okay,
looking
good.
to develop and get better. So I'm sure we've shared with you a packet. Do you have that?
Yes.
We do.
Okay, summarizing. Jason is actually gonna start the overview, but I just wanted to point out, sorry for the background, lovely noises. I just wanted to point out the most significant changes you'll see are in the science and the math department. As we've moved towards the integrated math, we're gonna see a continuation of a request to continue that work. The others are minor tweaks in languages. So small tweaks in the language, the course descriptions are worded. So Jason, just a minute. This is what happens when your granddaughter is in the picture. Can you say hi? Okay, thank you.
Hello,
for
granddaughter.
Give me a minute, okay?
Hello.
So Jason, I'm gonna put you on the spot and I will jump in, okay?
Jason, you're
Hi there, how
on.
we doing, everyone?
Great.
So I'll walk you through, I don't know if you want to walk through the whole document or I can summarize for you. Which would you prefer?
Why don't you just give us a sentence on each one?
Sure thing. So the English department, which is the first category you have there, we're requesting to bring back IB Literature and Performance, years 1 and 2. We had taken it out while we were adjusting our curriculum, and the English department felt strongly that this was a good option to bring back and give additional options to all students and increase access for all. We had in the catalog a few years ago. We took it out as we were shifting through the trimesters with personnel and into the new 7-drop-1, and we believe we can bring it back and it'll be a good addition. Health and what? Stop me if you have any questions anytime.
Each time we'll just check if there are any questions on the IB Lit and Performance. I
No,
think,
I think we're all set.
Okay.
Health and wellness.
Health and wellness was a simple change. You see it bolded there to substance use and misuse, and that's just the updated for acceptable language.
Okay.
any questions there?
Photography for business.
Actually, so we have above that in the IP department, we want to bring back IB film into the catalog. We had this again a few years ago when we were making the transition, and we like to bring it back. And
Oh.
then
We got a little bit off because it said IP rather than IB.
Yeah, this would live in the IP department. It is an IB class. It could count as one of the capstone courses, potentially in visual, the information pathway, excuse me.
Oh, it's in pathways. Okay, good. Okay,
And then the
Jason,
next,
is that a next year plan or the following year?
we'd like to add it to the course catalog this year, but put it in, actually run it most likely for the following year, but we want to be able to start training people.
okay. Photography.
Photography and commercials for business is just updating the existing course description to include business standards and frameworks from the state. You can see them in bold.
So because it's part of the business pathway, we need to make sure that we're addressing some of the language is in the chapter 74 business programming standards. So that language is added to the course description.
Oh, and you have them in the DECA competition.
Yes.
How did we do last year?
We did well. I don't know if we went as far last year because the year before we had made it to Florida, right?
Yeah, that was international.
Yeah.
We had 3 winners in the regional and 1 or 2 at the state level, and then we went to the international down in Florida. How did we do last year? Do you know?
We didn't make it to Florida, right, Jason?
Correct. We did not make it to Florida last year.
But we did great here.
Mhm.
Okay. How many, well, we have a lot more kids in this now, don't we?
We do. We have a lot more in this, and last year we had they were competing in new categories as well. So it was our first time going in to attempt those areas, and they did very well for first time in new categories.
Didn't we have something like 30 or 40 people up from 8 the year before? Yeah, that's great. Okay.
So, question, so the IB film, so is that like, looking at 2 years? Like a year 1 and then if you like, you'll take it in next year? I'm kind of curious.
There is a level, a year 1 and a year 2. Do you want to speak to that, Jason?
Sure.
For the students.
Correct. So the curriculum requires for SL levels to go a year and a half actually, and then the HL, the higher level, are 2 full years. So the courses would be able to run over the course of 2 years, beginning not the next school year, but the 26-27 school year.
All right. Math department.
Math department, the majority of these updates, and I'll highlight some ones that are not, but are adjusting to the integrated. If you remember, we started with integrated 1 math a few years ago. We added 2 last year. Now we're adding integrated 3, and the language
needs to be updated in the course catalogs. That's most of the edits.
So if you remember, we were switching from the algebra, geometry, algebra 2 to an integrated curriculum. So now we have integrated 1, integrated 2, integrated 3. So it's basically taking the algebra 2 course out of the catalog because it's become integrated 3. It's taking they're not in order, sorry. Integrated 2 and 3 honors to become. What are you calling that one, Jason?
Oh, no, so the integrated, so algebra 2 becomes integrated 3.
Oh,
The algebra
level
1
one.
and 2 honors are just the requests to add teacher recommendations, because we had students struggling in the last couple of years as we're updating the curriculum. So let them know what they're getting into, have that conversation along with guidance. The additional changes, if you go next one, would be trigonometry and pre-calculus honors. We would remove that course and substitute that with an AP pre-calculus, which we piloted last year with a lot of really good success in terms of how our students did on the AP exam. And so we feel that the students and the teachers are ready to make that jump.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, do you see any difference? And it looks like you're saying more people are getting higher scores on the AP math test.
Correct. Last year, they were teaching the trigonometry pre-calculus class as it's there and using some of the AP pre-calculus training that some of our staff received over the summer before. We allowed students to voluntarily take the AP pre-calculus test. 30 students accepted the challenge and 80% earned a 3 or higher, which is really excellent for our students. And so based on the strength of that last year and how the curriculum's been, we're requesting to just make the AP pre-calculus the official, next step in the course rather than saying trigonometry and pre-calculus. They cover the similar frameworks and standards with a little bit more rigor and a few other topics that are covered there.
Who teaches that?
That shifts depending on the year. That has been Regina Trumbull. It has been Brittany Youngberg, Lisa Packinen. Sherry Burkle has taught it in a long time in the past. So it depends on the course loads for everybody.
Okay.
so then Jason, I think if you can just talk about business and personal finance on that page.
Sure.
you-
A long time ago, we had financial algebra, and that was moved away some years ago. And we were looking there to ways we can start to bring co-curricular curriculum experiences together so students can fulfill both graduation requirements as well as other things like the IP pathways certificate and requirements. And business and personal finance, if we add it to the math department and allow the math teachers to lead the way and develop the curriculum, it can fulfill as a senior year math. It could be one of the math requirements that goes through there, but count both as a math, like their 4th year of math, and fulfill the IP business pathway requirement as one of their technical courses that they need prior to taking a capstone. So it allows a student to double dip without having to take 2 courses. You get one, 2 for the price of 1.
Okay, long ago, we put in a requirement that they had 4 years of math, 4 years of English, 3 of science, and 3 of social studies. I assume we still have that.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
So my question, so let's say you have a kid and math is not his forte or her forte. What maths would they take in their 4 years? They're not gonna take calc or trig because they feel they're not gonna do well in calc or trig.
So we would open up the basic pathway for students would be you integrated 1 and 2. They now have integrated 3, this is the 3rd year of that phase-in program. And then they really can go into sort of, if you're not a strong math student, you wanted to sort of take the path, there'd be 3 paths if we approve this business and personal finance as a mathematics course. That would be 1. You could also take, you'll see a little bit lower on the page, AQR, which is advanced quantitative reasoning, which many students take now. And then the third option could be for students who want to challenge themselves a bit more. They can go into the IB Math Year 1, which is an up after the, and then or go IB Math 1, the Math 2. They instead of doing
Junior
integrated
and
three.
senior.
Yep, junior senior year.
So, I mean, so once again, so a student who's not high in math, so that they really don't have a lot of choice though, right? I mean, when you come right down to it. If they can't take trig, they can't take calc, or they don't, you know, they don't wish to. It seems like they don't, I'm not concerned. I'm just kind of wondering how we handle that. 'Cause there are kids who don't do well in math. I mean, they just don't. And I just want to, I like the encouraging commentary that they at least have some choices that they could do well in their own way. And it just seems to me from what you're saying that really once you hit your fourth year, that kind of kid won't have a lot of choice.
This actually adds a choice in, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Gilmartin, but this actually adds a choice in by adding business and personal finance to that lane. So you can do AQR, you can do IB Math, or you can now do business and personal finance. So it's one of the reasons that we felt like this was really a good option for kids.
Yeah, no,
And-
the business sounds
But I
great.
think, Lisa, because really, before this, you had two choices, and those are still some, higher level
IB math,
maths,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
IB Math is a high level math. So if a kid is struggling and has to do that fourth year, it doesn't sound like there are a lot of options.
Yeah.
Well, I think isn't what you're saying that a senior would wind up taking freshman type math? Freshman level?
No, this business and personal finance would be one of the options we had at the senior year. So what Mr. Milano was absolutely saying is true. You'd have the first 2 years are pretty set. You're integrated 1 and integrated 2. We used to do algebra 1 and geometry. Then the next step on your regular pathway would be algebra 2. And then you'd have your choice of, you can go to pre-calc and trig, you can go to AQR, and your or IB, and your math options were still very strong and limited. And so if you were somebody who was very interested in the business pathway or technical schools, and you didn't need to go to pre-calc, for example, your options were a little bit limited. So this, we felt, was a good way to add another option for students who maybe math isn't their strong point, or maybe they want to extend themselves in a different direction. So they wanted to stay in an accessible math pathway, and it allows them to access a business pathway course that's a technical course and may open up an IP designation as part of their graduation as well. But prior to, they may not have had access to the business designation because they had to take other courses. This helps meet that course requirement.
And if you think of the content, it's a little bit of a mix of sort of like, and we hear this from our students all the time, like, well, who balances their checkbooks anymore, right? But understanding credits and debits and assets and liabilities. One thing our students very much have an interest in are sort of stocks and different things like that. So some of those concepts will be covered in this as a math course and a personal finance course.
And we're looking at that for next year.
Starting, yes, 25, 26.
26, okay.
Yep.
No, I think this is great to add it. I
Oh, yes.
worry, and maybe, in the future to think about these students, because a student struggling in math is not going to lean towards a business pathway, most likely. They're going to lean probably more towards a trade or something like that. I mean,
I
I think
think
this would
they're
be
gonna
helpful
need
for
business.
all kids. I'm just worried
Right?
that there aren't enough options for the students that do struggle. But one comment I had on the AQR, should we change the prerequisite to say integrated 3 instead of algebra 2 or higher?
That'll be next year's piece, because there are still some students who are taking algebra 2 this year. So if they're looking to take AQR for their senior year next year. So we have current juniors taking algebra two.
gotcha. Okay.
That's why the language changed. So
I
next
just
year you
was
can look
thinking
forward
if
to,
we were changing it up top, we should change it there, but yeah, I understand. Thank you.
you can look forward to that next year.
Okay.
Okay,
And remember, Deb, when we heard kids talk, they asked for more business.
Oh, I think it's
You know,
great.
I mean.
No, I think it's
it's great.
fantastic to add it
Yep.
and give more options. Absolutely. I'm on
All right.
board with that. I'm just worried that maybe we need even more.
You know,
Well, I would say this is the adulting math.
yeah,
But I think it's great. I mean, it's just basic life skills, if
Yeah.
nothing else, like
but you know, what's
Colleen.
more than that, I think Peggy's right. We've had, whether we call them technicians now, but they're people that come to the house to fix things. And they come in with their laptop or whatever, and everything is billed. Everything, all the business end of it is done before they take either the check or they take the credit card, and it goes through their central office. And so they've got to know what they're asking for. They've got to understand the business aspect of it in terms of money. And how, not just the money end of it, but how the system works.
That's a
The
good point.
technology around it, and the vocabulary around it. So,
Right.
yeah, I think it applies to.
I'd
all
like to see.
people.
Oh, I
more
think
business
it's
classes, yeah.
I think you're gonna have a great success with it. I do. I think it's fantastic.
okay. Science Department, biology, chemistry, AP.
So, yep, so this is just changing the prerequisite to be just biology versus biology and chemistry. And we found that that was limiting for students getting access to AP biology when they might want to do it earlier. AP chemistry, we're changing it to agree with the math phasing changes that we discussed above. And then IB sports medicine, we're adding the clarification that it is a rigorous science course, and then also fills the wellness graduation. And then we do lists in there the fields, the medical fields that this course relates to. Some kids saw that it met a wellness requirement, and they were going into it thinking it was a general health course, and not the understanding that it is a very rigorous movement science course.
Who teaches that one?
Nancy Steckel currently does. And then the final change for sciences down there are again just aligning to the mathematics languages and course sequencing.
Questions on those?
Yeah, on the, well, just a general question. So if I want to take AP biology, the prereq is biology and chemistry. Is there also a grade level to the prereq? I mean, if I pass both with a D, am I okay to go into AP biology?
Well, we're moving away from bio and chem to just be biology.
Right.
So we're not,
Oh, I see.
no longer going to require chemistry, but we are saying you have to have a biology before you can go into AP biology. And to be honest with you, that's where a lot of the guidance happens, where our students are meeting with guidance counselors. How did you do in biology that makes you want to take AP biology? Usually they've performed really well.
Yeah.
And are interested in that for, future career and whatnot.
Okay, so, all right, so now I make sure I understand this. So
Yep.
AP chemistry then, so there is no prerequisite in the algebra 2 or biology now? Is that what we're saying, or?
We're
Math
changing
one.
it to the new math language. So, because algebra 2 is going away, it's integrated math 1 or
Right.
integrated math 2
And biology
and biology.
in the middle column.
Yeah.
All right, World Language Department.
World Language Department is very straightforward, is that prior, when we had the trimester schedules, they could take the SL courses in kind of whatever sequence they wanted to. The World Language Department is asking that we set a sequence now. So you'll see they say SL1, SL2, SL3, SL4 to give a better experience for our students and a better, more consistent background and foundational knowledge so they know what the students have had coming forward. And that would be same in both Spanish and French. And then the higher level, they're adding that sort of mandatory sequence as well. So just basically lining up the courses in an order that makes sense to build on foundational knowledge in the previous course.
How many kids do we have taking Spanish and French?
Lot of Spanish.
A lot of Spanish.
Well, we define a lot
Yep, if you give me a minute, I can tell you.
Okay.
Let me,
in French.
So if you remember, we had trimesters. Can't forget, right? But that's why the sequences were out of order. So they were trying to be as flexible as possible, letting kids kind of take in any order. So I imagine there will have to be a bit of a phased in approach because some students maybe are a little bit out of order. So probably for our freshmen coming into Spanish, they'll start that sequence and they'll try to shore up our sophomores. And definitely finish out our juniors and seniors in the sequence that they're in. But the teachers feel like it will better prepare them to be more successful in this order.
We haven't had any trouble getting or maintaining language teachers recently because we had some issues.
Right now, we have 2 Spanish teachers and 1 French teacher, and then a world language teacher at the middle school, and our American Sign Language teacher. So we've had consistency in that department for at least the past year, extending into this year. I think that's true. And I'm not sure if the French teacher maybe even came partway into the year before that. It's possible. But we're working, the team has worked really hard to ensure that our French teacher can also spend some time in the middle school because our current world language teacher, Spanish is her preferred foreign language. And so to give the students more exposure and a different experience, we have scheduled our French teacher to spend some time down the middle school to see if we can build those French numbers back up again.
I actually visited the high school
Oh.
last week at the time we were given. And we just kind of did a walkabout, and that's one of the classes we visited, and both classes were in there together, and it was really interesting to see. And the teacher that teacher got very nervous when we came in, but the principal calmed her right down, and it was great to see they were up, but getting that exposure at the young age like that, and they were exposing them to both and working together. It was a really good experience. If anyone, I'll probably talk about it Thursday again, but it was just nice. We just headed out of the office and just walked through the schools and popped into all different classrooms. So it was a really good experience. And I think it's nice. It's nice to be invited to the big events, but like we want to see the day-to-day work that we hear so much about, and that's what it was. So I would recommend anyone else, if you have the opportunity, to look at those dates and try to get some visits in.
Well, there's good things going on at our school.
There really
That
is.
Beauty and the Beast was outstanding.
Oh, my God.
Mhm.
I can't stop thinking about it. It was better than Hanover Theater.
It was really good.
Mr. Gilmartin, do you have that? Not to
I
put you
do,
on the spot. I
no
thought you were
worries.
thinking.
Dr. Allen, to answer your question, we have 98 students in Spanish ab initio 3 who are about to enter this sequence. And we have just over 100 in Spanish ab initio 1. That's this current semester. We have Spanish 1 and 3 going mostly.
Okay, good. How about French?
French is a little smaller. It's again, we're rebuilding. We did have the teachers discussion as Ms. Muha led to, and so we're rebuilding that. We have 19 in our French 3, 22 in French 2, 19 in French 1, and we do have 23 in the SL level. So we're rebuilding that program currently.
Oh, good. Okay, and what's the last additional or catalog additions?
This is where we wanted to put into, we have a, put some language into the course catalog that describes the process that we use when students are trying to drop a level after the first progress reports have happened in Q1. We encourage students, working with the students, the parents, the teachers, and the guidance department really encourage people to stretch and take risks if they feel strong in a particular subject. And if they go into it but are feeling overwhelmed, we do a process where we meet with the teacher, meet with the parents, and just want to make sure we articulated how, if they decide to withdraw at the end of Q1, what that'll look like. on their overall transcript. Because there's been some
Doesn't it-
confusion around that.
Does anybody ever ask for Latin?
Not in some time.
I still remember weenie, weedy, wiki, omni gallia and trace patres to WCS,
Cogito ergo sum.
right? We went to Catholic school.
How about Chinese? Is there any interest in that anymore?
We have had Chinese after retirement of our longstanding Diamond Moni's teacher there. We did have some Chinese, but it had been dying. Unfortunately, the enrollments had been dying out a little while. I would love to have seen us hold on to that program, but it just was no longer tenable for us to hold on to it.
Son took 4 years, then a couple in college.
My
Right.
nephew as well.
We had that person from the Chinese legation or whatever it was in Boston came out and talked to us.
I think that we have to remember that our enrollment is declining right now. Our current senior class is very much on the small side. And so some of the course changes that you see in here are really to try to allow our kids multiple access points, right? So if I take IB, so they're not having to make those hard decisions, but I can take this business math class and it can fulfill my math and it can also fulfill my pathway, right? Because the numbers are just dwindling, and what you don't want to see at the start of the year are class sizes of, 9 and 10. Yeah. So this is one way that the team's getting creative to think about what are the opportunities that are really beneficial to the students and how do we present them so that, I don't know what happened. I lost you guys for 2 seconds on the screen. How do we present them so that students take full advantage of them? And more importantly, that it's really useful programming for whatever their path is when they leave us.
Oh, I think it's a good, strong program.
Definitely.
It's not like some of these schools where you see, you have 4 years of math, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 years of whatever, 1, 2. Some substance here. Okay, any comments or questions? Then do we have a motion to present this to the full committee? 1 and 2, yeah, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, there we go. All right, I think that's all we have tonight, right?
Yep.
I thank you all.
1 and 2.
We will not have a meeting in January. We will, if needed, in February. And that will be it for the year, one hopes.
Wow.
We're getting there, one hopes. One hopes. Okay, thank you all.
Thank
They
you.
want to adjourn?
1 and 2 made motions.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
I agree.